On this day, 11 years ago, January 3rd, 2009, the very first Bitcoin block was mined, which is referred to as the Genesis block. So technically, today is Bitcoin's birthday. So happy birthday, Bitcoin. And Bitcoin was created by an individual or an entity by the name of Satoshi Nakamoto. Now, 11 years later, we still do not know the true identity or origin of Satoshi Nakamoto. Many in the community believe that Satoshi Nakamoto is a group of cryptographers, libertarians, and cypherpunks that got together to combat the current centralized monetary system we have with the Federal Reserve banking system and created Bitcoin to be a rival, to be a decentralized monetary system. And then you have the conspiracy theory crowd. Those are the people who believe that Bitcoin is a CIA-funded government project built by the Illuminati, Bilderberg Trilateral Commission, designed to usher in one world government and a one world reserve currency. I tend to use the more logical, common sense approach, especially when you look at the actual message that was embedded into the Genesis block and understanding the motivations behind that. See, there was a lot of bank bailouts and just economic turmoil happening at the inception of Bitcoin. And that message stated, it was actually an article from a European newspaper, and the message stated, the chancellor is on the brink of a second bailout for the banks. So that can tell you the motivation was designed around what's actually happening in the economy back on January 3rd, 2009. And what's ironic and funny is here we are now, 11 years later, 11. And guess what's happening? The Federal Reserve is still intervening in the marketplace and bailing out the banks or the shadow banking system with the whole repo market. What's going on right now in the repo market? Think about this. The Fed is injecting, that means printing, trillions of dollars to give to the banks so that they can lend to each other overnight. So we know that the monetary system isn't healthy. And we know that here we are 11 years later and Bitcoin's been ticking. We haven't had a 51% attack. Every 10 minutes, blocks have been formed just like they're supposed to. So the system actually has proven itself to work. Now, when you look at this centralized version of money that we have, where you have 12 men getting into a room and basically deciding what's going to happen to the economy, who's going to get bailed out, who doesn't get bailed out, what the interest rates will be and won't be, we can see that this system is it's not working for everyday Americans. Now, what I want to do is I want to actually take a few passages out of the book, The Creature from Jekyll Island by G. Edward Griffin, who he's not even a fan of cryptocurrency, but so many things in that book shows you the problems that we're actually having with our current monetary system and why we need Bitcoin, a rival to this current system. So, when the Federal Reserve Act was actually passed, prior to that, in 1910, these individuals, the Wahlbergs, the J.P. Morgans of the world, the Aldriches, who was a senator, they actually got together on Jekyll Island and basically drafted the concept of central banking. Now, it's ironic that they did it in secrecy because when you think about how Bitcoin was created, this is how you know that it was designed to compete against the current centralized banking system, because Bitcoin was kind of created in secrecy where you don't really know who did it and why they did it. So you can tell that there was thought put into the way it was released and actually ushered in. Also, none of the crypto that was mined by that early Satoshi Nakamoto group has ever been spent or moved from that wallet. So it's definitely not about money. But I want to just talk about something real quick. The Fed, this is the mandate of the Federal Reserve. The main purpose of the Federal Reserve is to maintain full employment, high productivity, low inflation, and a generally sound economy. Well, if you have to print $1 trillion just to get banks to lend to each other, that's not a sound economy. We know that our economy isn't productive anymore because we've done shipped so much of our manufacturing base away. Income inequality has grown leaps and bounds. When you look at the inflation rate, the dollar has lost 90% of its purchasing power since the inception of the Federal Reserve, so they're not keeping inflation down. And then when you look at how our economy operates, if I want to get a business loan, I can't get it as an 18 or 19-year-old for $50,000. But if I want to go to a college, I can go to a bank and get a $50,000 loan. So we know that the economy isn't operating properly. Now, these same banks can ruin the economy, wreck the economy, go to the government and hold them hostage and say, you will give me a bailout or the economy is going to collapse. And then they'll take that very same money and basically pay themselves bonuses. And then these zombie banks that aren't profitable, they can go to the Federal Reserve discount window, borrow at 0%, and then take that money and go put it in treasuries and make the spread of a 2%, 3%. So we understand that the economy isn't operating the way that it should, a healthy economy should. That's because the Federal Reserve System and the Federal Reserve Act of 1913 wasn't designed for you and I to benefit. It's a banking cartel that's designed, and a passage out the book, it says, what emerged was a cartel agreement with 5 objectives. Stop the growing competition from the nation's newer banks, obtain a franchise to create money out of nothing for the purpose of lending, get control of the reserves of the banks so that the more reckless ones would not be exposed to currency drains and bank runs, get the taxpayer to pick up the cartel's inevitable losses, and convince Congress that the purpose was to protect the public. Now understand, this is an old book, and we're still watching this happen today. Remember, there's nothing federal about the Federal Reserve. They don't have any reserves. They create money out of thin air, and they funnel it to the banks that are a part of the cartel. And then when you and I want to go get a loan to start a business, we can't. But Deutsche Bank, who's not even a bank, an American bank, can get a bailout through the repo market because they can funnel money through these hedge funds where they can then go and pump the stock. So we can see that there's just a perverted relationship with our financial system and our government where it's not benefiting everyday Americans. The only thing that you and I can get is a credit card with a 22% APR. And they call that innovation. So you can begin to see the power of Bitcoin. So now let's look at the track record of the Federal Reserve. Since its inception, it has presided over the crashes of 1921 and 1929, the Great Depression of 29 to 39, recessions in 53, 57, 69, 75, and 81, a stock market Black Monday in 87, and a 1,000% inflation, which has destroyed 90% of the dollar's purchasing power. And remember, this is an old book, so it's not counting the recession after Clinton, and then it's not counting the recession that we had in '08. So clearly, the Federal Reserve hasn't benefited the American public. It didn't stop the runs on the banks and the panics. All we did was we gave up the run on the banks and the panics prior to the Federal Reserve Act to this boom and bust cycle where the Fed blows these bubbles and creates inflation. But the problem is the inflation never gets to us, the consumer, in the way of wage growth. It gets to us in the way of higher priced products, higher priced real estate, the price of tuition and medical expenses rising, but it doesn't benefit everyday Americans. So the group, Satoshi Nakamoto, who I believe is a group, they got together to create a system that's decentralized, that's disinflationary or deflationary, and is not based upon debt. Because that's our entire economy. It's all based upon getting people into debt, this boom and bust cycle. So people take on a lot of debt during the boom, and then when the bust happened, because there's not enough people borrowing, enough economic activity, the bust happened, people can't pay back the loans, and it becomes this never-ending perpetual cycle of, okay, inflate, boom, 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 people borrow, they can't pay back, economy crashes. So now when you look at Bitcoin, I can tell you, I know every 10 minutes how many Bitcoin will exist. And then we know how many new Bitcoin are being created based upon the halving. So when Bitcoin during the Genesis block was first created, there were 50 BTC in every new block created. And then after 4 years, it would be cut in half to 25. And then it would be cut in half again 4 years later to 12 and a half. And now we're coming up on an halving in May of 2020, where we're going to be cut down to 6.25, and so on and so on and so on, till we get to the point where no new Bitcoin will be issued and will be capped at, I think, 20,997,000. Don't quote me exactly on the exact number, but somewhere in that range. There will never be more than 21 million Bitcoin. So we can see that we have a decentralized system that's based upon scarcity, that's based upon production. Because remember, to create a new Bitcoin, it actually takes resources. You actually have to hash and mine and solve complex mathematical problems to get to the answer for that Bitcoin. That costs electricity, that's money. To create new dollars, you just go, oh, hey, JP Morgan, oh, hey, Merrill Lynch or whoever, you need some money? Okay, no problem. Print up a bunch of ones and zeros on the computer and you just send it to them. Most of the money is digital now. So we can begin to see that, will this old way of banking and central banking and monetary policy rule, or will this new decentralized way of money, of banking, of an economy? Because a lot of people don't understand. They look at Bitcoin and they just think Bitcoin is just a cryptocurrency. Bitcoin is much more than that. It has economics built into it, especially those of us who are of the Austrian economics philosophy. So the next 10 to 15 years are going to be interesting. And the beautiful thing about Bitcoin is that it's an open source protocol. So what it may be today, it may evolve into something different 5, 10, 15 years from now, because it's true money that's controlled by the people. So years ago, when they were having the whole debate about the block size, the 1 megabyte block size, and people wanted to increase it and other people didn't want to increase the throughput, well, we had a fork. See, that's true democracy, where people want something different, and we got a Bitcoin Cash, and then we got a Bitcoin SV, and we got a Bitcoin Gold, and we got a Bitcoin Private. And you're going to constantly keep seeing these things, and at the end of the day, the main chain, Bitcoin Core, continues to keep marching on. We have all of these different imposters and forks who want to try to take over the brand and the identity of Bitcoin, and it just keeps marching on. And now we have SegWit, and now we have a whole layer 2 solution with Lightning. So I don't want to get too technical. I just really wanted to share, some of my thoughts and my sentiments about today being Bitcoin's birthday, because Bitcoin has made me a lot of money. And with this next halving coming up, I expect Bitcoin to easily break that $25,000, $35,000 price range and make me some more money. So as I said, who will win the future? Will it be the central bankers, or will it be a decentralized monetary policy like Bitcoin? Only time will tell. So with that being said, guys, please like this video, share this video. If you're not subscribed to my channel, please subscribe and hit the notification bell and drop a comment below. Do you think Bitcoin's a CIA government-funded project by the Illuminati, or do you think that it's the future? Because when you start to study blockchain technology, you begin to start thinking about banking solutions with the whole DeFi stuff happening with Ethereum. You start thinking about a decentralized social media platform, like a decentralized version of YouTube or decentralized version of Facebook, where you don't have to worry about, a group of people saying this is hate speech and we want to get rid of you, and you can't really protest it. It'll be decentralized. Basically, the people control what happens on the platform. So there are just so many possibilities as to where this technology can and will go. Medical records on the blockchain. I mean, I could keep going on and on. So again, thank you for watching this video. Have a blessed and beautiful day.